We are not saying they should not protest.
Right.
Okay. Good enough that even the police have said they will give them cover. But also the protesters must also know the people who are around them. Because I'm very sure there are some people who will want to take laws into their hands and begin to, destroy public facilities. The scars of Lagos, because I know most states, I know of Lagos, I know of Cross River, what happened to Tinapa, how they looted everything in Tinapa. AC, WC, somebody was carrying WC, one will carry the cover, another person will carry the... it was just a pathetic scene to watch. Even in Lagos here, one of the best DNA facilities that we had. Yeah. Now we want to do DNA, we have to go to America. But they built it here in Lagos and they burnt it down. So that's what I'm saying. If you're talking about, if your demand is just to end hunger, let it be things that are around hunger. Do not shift the ground to say, okay, you are going to move to another, because that is what happened during NSAS. They wanted, okay, they should stop police brutality. And all of a sudden, they decided to say, okay, we want to remove Buhari. No! It shouldn't have gone to that level. Right. If you wanted them to end the SARS people or to remove them from, you would have stuck with that. And then after 5 days, when the government started the discussion, they would have just gone back home. So we want this to be that organized. You are going to protest. If the police is saying, please, you are going to stay in Ikeja under bridge, please, let them stay in Ikeja under bridge. Let them not do gra-gra, let me use that word, and say, no, we want to now move to another place. Because in moving, you might not know what will happen. People can infiltrate you, okay? So let them be more organized. This government has said, we are not stopping you from protesting. It is in the Constitution. Everybody has that constitutional right to protest. But please, let it not be violent.
Yeah, you raised something that I would have caught you in, but I wanted to just let you land because, you talked about the government being sincere in addressing the grievances of the people, but some have said that the cost of governance is still relatively high. So don't you think the government needs to look at that aspect as well, even if at all it is working towards its palliative measures and providing, of the approval of the minimum wage and every other thing that goes with it? Don't you think the government needs to look into that aspect as well so that Nigerians can see that this government is serious to, addressing the issues that are really before us at the moment?
In terms of the cost of governance, I feel the government is also looking into it, okay? I know when the president was saying, okay, he will not take long convoys anymore. And he did the same thing for him and himself and the vice president. If that is what is our demand, because I'm looking at the demand of these protesters, if it is part of their demand, okay, for reduction of cost of governance, the president, they need to sit down with the president and tell the president where the president can reduce, and the president will, okay, look at it. Because this is a listening president. It's not the president that they will give him paper and explain newspaper to him. No. It's the president that listens, is hearing, he knows what is happening, is watching. And then, so when you come with your own position, he will listen. That's why he has advisors, he has ministers. They will also tell him, sir, this can happen, this cannot happen. He will call for a meeting. Maybe by the time we get to the other one, I wanted to say labor. Yeah. Okay? Because when labor was becoming very difficult and everybody thought, he was not going to listen, he listened to them. So he's listening. So if we want them to cut down the cost of governance, I'm very sure he would also be looking at it, okay, where can I reduce? Should I reduce the number of ministers? Should I reduce the number of essays that I have? How many vehicles am I using? Should I reduce it to only 2 or 1, to reduce, cost of fuel? Same will also apply to all of them. When I mean all, I mean the Senate, the president of the Senate, his deputy speaker, governors, and as well as even down to the local government. So all these things are part of, if they are part of the demands that the protesters want, they shouldn't shy away, but they have to only do that at a round table.
Round table discussion from the position of Asukwo. Mr. Majid, this might be like, this should be the only solution that we have, but some would say protests are not It's not something that can be done. We can do protests. We can have it peaceful. We've had protests before. The reason why NSAS went down south was because the security operatives launched fire on some protesting youths at Lekki Tollgate. So, if we can ward off such reoccurrence, as it were, already the Inspector General has sent messages to his personnel to be of good behavior while the streets when conducting or, ensuring that there's peaceful protest and all of that. But what other factors need to be considered to ensure that we have a peaceful protest that doesn't generate into violence?
Yeah, peaceful, no matter how peaceful a protest is, you must have a leader, a point man that will direct affairs. During NSAS, there was nothing like that. They say they don't have a leader. They were not listening to anybody. They will form like they have a cabinet there where they take decisions. And so one mad person can just come and change whatever and they all follow him. You see, we must all realize that while you are protesting, you cannot force others to join your protest. You cannot use your protest to disturb or hinder the movement or business activity of other people. Some people, their life, like the health sector, aviation, and so many other sectors, these are a 24/7 sector. And also the police and other security agencies, they have a duty to ensure free flow of traffic and that people are able to move freely. Like what happened at the toll gates, they blocked the toll gate, those who want to come from Lekki down to the island and mainland.
People going to Lekki too.
And those who were going to, they didn't allow them to move. Some people were carrying their sick ones, some pregnant women to the hospital. They didn't allow them access. And so hell was let loose. So I think basically we should, like I said earlier, we should protest with all sense of responsibility. Now, look at one guy on TikTok in Jos. He went on TikTok saying what will happen, calling people to action, saying what will happen on day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, saying they will bomb police stations, they will bomb markets, they will destroy private properties, stores, supermarkets where they are selling food, bread, bakery, all those things. It was really not those things. Now he was arrested. Only him now is gentle. He said he was joking. And that they now told him later. There are videos of where he was reeling out those actions as if he was drunk. Now, when he was arrested and cuffed,
He became humble.
he became humble. So, protests take another life entirely, especially when you see the crowd, they become uncontrollable, and at times, hell might be let loose. Like Azuko said, protesters, some of them, reasonable, they might have good intentions, but there are some hoodlums that their own is, maybe somebody might have, they have issues with somebody somewhere. They want to.
That is their target. That will be their
target to retaliate. So they will just go there. What has NSAS got to do with looting of ShopRites? What has NSAS got to do with burning of BRT buses? Is it government officials or commissioners in Lagos that has their own official vehicles that will enter BRT? Is it not those of us who are common men that will enter all these buses? That forensic center that was burned down, that's why Mohbad's post-mortem could not be done on time. That forensic center is the best in sub-Saharan Africa. In Lagos, it was burned down. And it will take 3 times the cost of erecting that structure to do that today. Those BRT buses, about 200 of them, it will take 3 times the cost of acquiring them 4 years ago to do that today. So, at the end of the day, it is the taxes we are paying that government will also use to fix those infrastructure that has been destroyed. Monies or funds that should have been channeled towards other projects will not be 3 times That amount will be channeled to rebuilding the infrastructure that we have destroyed during protests. I'm not saying people should not protest, but let government know our grievances, but in a very peaceful manner. Now, Kenya, it's like becoming a rudderless country now. They don't even know where to start. Some of them are even regretting because they have destroyed beyond what could be comprehended. And the person they want to remove is still there. So we must have some measures of sensibility into all these protests we are doing. Nobody is against protests, but there has to be some sense in it, some rationale behind some of the protests. When there was protests during anti-subsidy, during anti-subsidy stuff then. Yeah. Yes.
But no destruction.
The likes of Buhari, Pastor Tunde Bakari, President Tinubu, they were at Ojota, peaceful for about 3 days. No property was destroyed, but they still achieved the objective, the purpose for which the protest was moved.
Right. So in essence, protest is allowed.
It's yes.
Peaceful.
Peaceful.
I think the message has been passed, and the government understands that okay, they can't take people for granted. So if people want to protest, they have the right to do that.
Right.
Let them get that protection.
Right. Let's quickly go on a very quick break. We have more discussions in just a moment. Stay with us.
Seen this before. Let's not allow it happen again. This message is sponsored by Honorable James Abiodun Faleke, Member, House of Representatives, Ikeja Federal Constituency.
Coleman wires and cable, great quality, now with the new look.
Now, one of the hallmarks of a good leader is the ability to prioritize welfare of citizens. And in a display of this, President Bola Tinubu has signed a new national minimum wage bill into law, marking an end to months of deliberations between the federal government and organized labor. The signing of the bill into law raises the national minimum wage from 30,000 naira to 70,000 naira for workers. Now, the new wage is expected to improve the living condition of workers and cushion the effects of rising inflation and economic hardship in the country. Let's share this moment with you, our correspondent, Femi Akonde.
The National Minimum Wage Amendment is for the whole nation, for the federal government, for the states, for the local governments, for the private sector, and even for individual employers. So I think this is a great day for the workers in the country. We are not only doubling the minimum wage, we have added something on top. Initially it was 30,000, now it is 70,000. But no Nigerian worker will offer services and be paid anything less than 70,000 from today. So my appeal to the Nigerian youth is do not allow any group to mislead you politically. People who probably did not have their fortunes in 2023 election are thinking they can come through the back door. That will amount to anarchy.
Well, that's the Senate President Godswill Akpabio speaking there. Now, Majid, from your perception, 70,000 naira is here, but in the light of the economic realities, is it ideal, even though?
Well, you know, the committee proposed 62,000 to the president. The president, in his wisdom increased it to 70,000. Labour, after looking at the books and seeing the reality, as a matter of fact, some of the demands of the protesters is 250,000. You know, Labour at a point was asking for 650,000. Came down to 250 and said 250 or nothing. But when they met with the president, and I think they opened the books to them, they agreed at 70. Yeah, things are quite expensive, but if we are moving from 30 to 70, I think it's a good way to start. And with a caveat that instead of a 5-year review, the next one will happen in 3 years. I think that is fair enough. But what the Senate President said, I think there's a caveat to that also. Said no Nigerian worker, no matter how low, will earn less than 70. There's a caveat in that law that says that those who have less than 25 people in their employment may pay less than this or may negotiate with their workers. So I think we should get that clear. This minimum wage applies to those having 25 workers and above. So for those who hire domestic helps, maybe a gate man, a security man, and another house help or whatever, I doubt if this will apply to such categories. But if we have 250,000 naira as minimum wage, if we do not manage it well, or if we do not cut our coat according to our cloth, it might not be enough.
Exactly.
Because if you know that a balanced, or rather a subsistent ration for you is 4 slices of bread and 1 egg and tea. Well, because you say you have
more money.
You have more money. You want to eat pounded yam with a 40 and the bushmeat. It's still food, but it will cost more than 4 slices of bread. So we need to learn how to manage. Things are expensive. I stumbled on a letter written in 1981 by Tai Solarin as proprietor of Mayfair College to parents of the pupils in his school, saying that the cost of a bag of gari has increased to 700 naira. A bag of gari has increased to 700 naira, that he had to add 20 naira to the cost of those students who will be staying in boarding house. That was 1981. So it's not today that, he said they had to travel far and beyond Ikene to go as far as Ibadan or Oyo to look for tomato to buy. That was in 1981. We are saying the same thing today.
Today.
In 2024, almost 44 years after that, things are expensive. Of course, things will continue to be expensive. In 1983, my dad bought a Volkswagen, a brand new Volkswagen Beetle, 1,500 naira. Brand new. A Peugeot then was, I think, 4,500. If you are buying SR or 505, it's 14,000, 15,000 naira. 1983-84. So things will continue to be, and by the time people are talking about increase in food prices in 10, 20 years' time, it will still be the same story. Ogunde and the other musicians sang about Iluleo Kosowolo more than 50 years ago. Still,
and Ilu is still late.
Ilu is still late. Now it's still hard. So things will not remain stagnant. The days of $10 per barrel of crude oil is over. It's now, the benchmark is between 60, 70, 80, at times to get to 100. So things are changing worldwide. Technology is making things, it's reducing the jobs that could be done by human beings. So with technology being deployed, more human beings are being left unemployed, and I think we should learn how to engage in services that are ICT-based, that could earn us more money. I mean, that we should commercialize our farming, we should digress from or diversify from subsistence farming and embrace commercial farming. The type that we saw in Yobe State the other day, the type we are seeing in Kogi, tractorization in Ekiti State, and also
in Niger too.
In Niger, agriculture, commercial agriculture, production activities will pull us out of the doldrum, not the continued reliance in on crude oil, because in 3 years' time, workers will be asking for probably 200,000
exactly.
Per minimum wage, except we increase our level of local production, especially in agriculture.
Yeah, talking about improving our productivity level, Asuko, you know, from what he said or rightly pointed out, the minimum wage will be reviewed every 3 years, and sustainability here is the key, because if you do not have means of sustaining what you have right now, because we understand some states are even yet to pay the 30,000 naira before this new minimum wage. So production is the answer if we're to look at things, right, in terms of ensuring that we have monies to pay for our workers.
Yes, exactly, because if we need to start engaging our youth. We have a highly populated and intelligent youth population. And I think that is where the government, you know, is supposed to start looking at tapping from that particular resources. I call it resources because once you have a youth population that is large, as huge as the one that we have in Nigeria, they can go into so many things. They can go into agriculture, like he's saying. You know, there's no point saying that every youth has to go to have a white-collar job, for instance. It's not everybody that should be talking about white-collar job. Most youth should also be going into IT, doing AI and stuff like that, you know, and that will be bringing revenue to the government.
What about infrastructure?
So
when you have
I'm going there. So if you have like the youth, for instance, government wants to build roads, for instance, they won't go and be looking for a old man. They will look for those who are agile, who can do the work on the road. Like the Lagos Calabar that they're doing, if you go there, you see the number of people, and most of them are youth population, doing the roads, okay? So our state government now should start thinking of tapping into that resources, that youth population, and not just leave it and say, okay, fine, every end of the month, we'll have to carry our bag and go to Abuja and collect something. You have to start using that money to develop that population in terms of getting them into the farm. For instance, all these things that we are talking about, food insecurity, or there's no food in Nigeria. For crying out loud, why can't we begin to have farm settlements in all the states, especially in the Southwest? Having farm settlements. I see no reason why we have to start bringing tomatoes from the north to the south. When we have lands, if you move from here to Benin, if you see there's a lot of vegetation there, vast land, either owned by people or whatever, but the state owns the land. They can either lease it from the family and then move people, do a farm settlement there and let them begin to farm there. If you want IT, the youths are also there. This period that they are saying, okay, they have, like now, all our children, they are home. Do you know that they are teaching them coding, teaching them AI, all those things? Because they are also thinking about the future. But we have those who are even older than them who should be learning these things, but they are not there. We don't want our youth population to be going into crime, this Yahoo thing. No. But let them, our government can tap into all those things. Infrastructure, you want to build any road, look for the youth population. Go to schools. If you go to Yabatech, for instance, you will see talented young students there who are doing great things. You can move them from that when they are doing their internship. Move them, say 3 months internship, take them to the road sites, let them begin to look at the new technology. They can even bring more their own ideas, and you tap into it. You go to FUTA, the same thing. I'm not sure there's any university or polytechnic in Nigeria that we don't have youth population who are ready to, bring their own contribution to national growth and development.
Right.
So it's just for us to begin to look at it. Our government have to start looking at it, not just about waiting for the crude oil.
Allocation.
Every time you're always waiting for that allocation, let that money come and then from there we start spending. No, we should start looking inwards. All state governments should start looking inwards. Is it the farm settlement that I'm talking about? I know there's one that Oyo State is doing, something about agriculture, and if you look at what the acres of land they've taken for ranching and for vegetables and all, we can do the same thing in Ogo State. We can do even in Lagos. I know Lagos is urban. Lagos might want to say, okay, we don't want to deal with rice. Or we don't want to deal, I know they have a rice mill.
Yeah.
But they can, I know in Badagry, I think in Badagry, there's a rice farm there in Badagry.
Yeah, there is land in Badagry.
Badagry, even in Epe, So if we have that and then they push all those things into it, we shouldn't be talking about food food inflation.
Right.
At all. Not even in Nigeria. With this kind of population that we have, the youth population we have, we shouldn't be talking about it. All the government should just do is move them there, make sure that they are well secured. We know that, okay, yes, people want to do some crazy things. But once any youth know that his life is secured and he has everything in that farm settlement, they want to go there.
Right. Well, let's quickly move on to our next issue of discussion, where the federal government is intensifying efforts to reduce the pressure on Nigeria's foreign spendings and improve fuel supply in the country. In this regard, the Federal Executive Council has directed the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPCL, to sell crude oil to Dangote Refinery and other local refineries in Naira. The council also directed NNPCL to implement the order to boost local production of refined petroleum products, and marketers have commended this timely intervention, projecting it as capable of slashing price and ending long-standing issues of fuel supply instability in the country. Well, let's share this story by TVC News' Femi Akonde with you.
President Tinubu's directive on the sale of crude oil in Naira may be the best reform introduced in the oil and gas sector in a long time. Petrol consumers will soon begin to enjoy a stable pump price regime that is no longer dictated by the unstable foreign exchange market.
The pressure on foreign exchange rates today will be reduced. Today, you may be aware that we spend roughly 30 to 40% of our foreign exchange today on importation of PMS that we consume.
Also, as part of the Tinubu administration's efforts to bring relief to Nigerians, Council approved a one-off purchase of a set of dialysis consumables for the use of Nigerians in 7 federal hospitals across the country.
In the last 3 weeks, the trend of the cholera outbreak is consistently going downwards, which means that Nigeria is able to contain so far. But the rainy season is on the way. The flooding is still unfolding. We are not lifting our gaze from the risk that this may rebound.
Some of the critical sections of the East-West Highway are now being fixed alongside other major roads in the country.
We have the Ure-Ondo-Akure road, which is under special intervention, due to flooding, and that is 24 months duration for a total contract of 134 billion.
The fight against transnational crime and corruption will also get better with the agreement signed between Nigeria and Spain on the exchange of information and assistance to repatriate fugitives.
We have an agreement which was signed way back in June 2022. So after the agreement, what the law requires is that you should come back home and have it ratified. And it was presented to Council today.
The Federal Executive Council meeting did not end without talking about the planned protest. The federal government insists there is currently no need for the demonstration, and most of their demands are actually being addressed.
There is really no need for the protest again, because most of those things that the protesters are putting forward are already actually either have been addressed or are being addressed by government.
Industries will come to Nigeria, refineries will come to Nigeria, and Nigeria will not just be energy sufficient, but Nigeria will end up being a net exporter of refined product.
Despite growing complaints of hardship caused by necessary economic reforms, the federal government insists significant measures have been made to reduce the negative impact of government policies on Nigerians. These include food distribution, implementation of student loans, and sale of food at subsidized prices. Femi Akonde, TVC News, Abuja.
News, wherever the big news.
Well, we have limited time to discuss our next issue here, but let me quickly come to you, Mujid, because, there are already concerns on NNPCL's ability to supply enough crude oil due to its forward sale contracts. But what do you make of this? And what alternative solutions do you think can be explored to ensure that local refineries have access to this crude and operate smoothly?
This is one of the best decisions taken by the president. I know we have said it several times on this program that we have an advantage with a president who understands the oil and gas sector inside out. He's an auditor, he has worked in Mobile, he's an accountant. So this arrangement, what it's going to do for us in Nigeria is the fact that now we spend $660 million monthly on the importation of petroleum products. That one is off. That's about $7.2 billion per annum. And in addition to this, the shady crude swap that NNPCL they have been doing for the past 20 years with our 445,000 barrels per day is off. Now, this 445,000 barrels will be shared amongst the 6 operating refineries now. We have 5 modular ones. With Dangote as number 1, we get, because it's producing, there is Edo refinery, there is Maddock. I mean, those ones taking maybe 5,000 liters, 6,000 liters, 2,005. But Dangote needs 15 cargoes of crude oil per annum. With this, NNPC has committed to giving Dangote 4 now, with a possibility to increase later, but at least those 4 cargoes runs into, billions of that. So the advantage of this Naira for crude is the fact that Dangote won't have to go to pay for Nigerian crude oil at American Bank of America or JP Morgan. It will be settled locally by the central bank, Afrexim Bank, and some local banks. So the arbitrage fee that is being paid in dollars is off. So the pressure, this development will take 30% off our foreign exchange pressure, on a monthly and annual basis. So kudos to the president, because this is an executive bill presented by the president himself to the Executive Council, which was approved. So, and this is what a lot of people have been agitating for. Local direct investment, if there's anything like that. So to say, this is an ingenious way. And the president should not listen to any IMF or any World Bank on this matter, that we should reverse it. We should not reverse it, because it will reduce the pressure on the Naira-dollar exchange rate. It will ensure stability at filling stations. So the issue of
prices, you mean?
Stability of prices, yeah, because the issue of PMS going up and down as a result of a fluctuation in international crude oil prices will not arise, because it is our Naira now that NNPC will open a line of credit to get refined petroleum products from Dangote, while Dangote will open a line of credit with NNPC to get crude oil, and it will be done Naira, seamlessly.
Everything in Naira.
You know, it might be a good one, but some are saying that it doesn't change the price of petrol. It doesn't amount to anything. That's what some economic experts have been saying.
No, the experts, some of the experts that I have, spoken with, said it's going to change. That the prices might drop, but we might not know what the prices are until that particular exchange, starts. Because for now, before he used to go outside to buy, but now he's right here. So we are looking at, I think the Federal Executive Council was even saying that for all the refineries, the NNPC should be able to get about 450,000, barrels for all of them, so that we'll see what we can get from it. So if all of them are refining at the same time, and hopefully maybe the NNPC, Port Harcourt refinery, and every other one comes on stream, because that one, they've been turning around, it has been turning itself around several times, and it's not making any headway.
It's 2021.
So if that one comes on stream, we'll be able to see what, I'm very sure there will be a lot of competition, okay? People, that is even going to, if this particular deal with Dangote NNPC works, you will see foreign investors trying to come into Nigeria. And that is more money for us, and real competition will start. Don't forget, we see Abua that is also building a refinery, so by the time that one also comes, the pressure would not be on us looking for dollar to be able to go outside to buy crude oil.
Right.
Yeah, that one will be cut off completely. And just like Majid said, before, we are talking about $600 million.
Right.
But it has reduced, with this, it's going to reduce to about $50 million.
Yeah,
so we have saved about 90% of what would have gone out. So it is a win-win situation for both Dangote and the federal government. Yes, it was all out. It was like a man who has, gone down, fears no fall anymore. So he had to just come out and start shouting. And we, the media, we helped him, and right here on TVC. I know Babajide was always on the case with Majid, trying to make sure that that particular business stands. And Esther, you need to go there to see the facility. It is huge.
Right.
It's huge. 7 times the size of Victoria Island. It's not
a small investment.
It's not a beans,
We'd have continued with this discussion, but because of time, I'd like to thank you, my guests, as usual, Asukwa James and Majid Jamiu. I had an extensive conversation with you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
For bringing your thoughts to bear on the various issues we discussed today. Well, that's about it on today's edition of Journalist Hangout. Don't forget you can watch a repeat broadcast of it tonight at 11. Join us again on Sunday from 1:30 to 3:30 p.m. We are also on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. I am Esther Mafariola. Bye for now, and God bless Nigeria.
The following is a paid presentation by ShopX TV. You're watching ShopX TV, home to some of the most popular international brands in Africa, including Gotham Hammered Collection, Genie Bra, Bionic Floodlight, Spot X, Total Crunch Evolution, and more. And we are now proud to introduce our biggest offer of the year, the ShopX Mid-Year Sales. Yes, from now until the end of July 2024, we will be offering our customers 20,000 Naira off this amazing kitchen collection. Tired of pans that scratch and stick or cookware that takes up valuable space in your kitchen? Introducing ShopX Gotham Hammered Copper Collection, the perfect cookware to upgrade your cooking experience. The Gotham Hammered Copper Collection features a super durable ultra non-stick surface. Eggs stick to other pans, but with the Hammered Copper Collection, they slide right out. Incredible! It's oven safe up to 500 degrees. Any recipe can be made in these pans, and then it wipes clean with ease. Make mouth-watering jollof rice or even fluffy pounder with ease, because nothing sticks.
I needed a cookware to keep up with me. The Gotham Hammered Collection has been a game changer. No more burnt meals or hours spent scrubbing pots.
An experience today.
The proceeding was a paid presentation brought to you by ShopX TV.
Good evening from Lagos, everyone. I am Nifemi Oguntoye. This is Beyond 100 Days. We're staying with a planned nationwide protest as the Inspector General of Police holds an emergency security meeting with heads of paramilitary agencies. At the meeting, the Inspector General mentioned that security personnel will be given body cameras to ensure accountability. The meeting had in attendance personnel of the DSS, FRC, NSCDC, Customs, NIS, and NCS. Protesters were advised to be peaceful in the demonstrations and that although the rights of Nigerians cannot be undermined, the country cannot afford a repeat of the NSAS protests. Meanwhile, Yoruba leading social-cultural organization, Afenifere, has condemned in strong terms the tone of the planned nationwide protest against President Tinubu's government, saying it's outside the tenets of constructive protest. This position is contained in a 9-point statement signed by National Organizing Secretary and Acting Secretary General Afenifere, Kole Omololu. The group also asks the public to disregard any contrary opinion expressed by Pa Ayo Adebanjo as his personal views, which does not represent Afenifere's position. The group has now called on traditional rulers in the southwest to prevail on youths, market women, artisans, and other groups not to allow themselves to be used to derail democracy in the country. The National Organizing Secretary and Acting Secretary General, Afenifere, Kole Omololu, joins me on the program this evening. Good evening, Mr. Omololu. Thank you for joining us on Beyond 100 Days. You seem to have condemned the planned nationwide protest against this government, saying that it's outside the tenets of constructive protest. Can you explain why you think this protest is not constructive?
Good evening, good evening, everybody there. Good evening, listener of faction Afenifere. Times and times, any of we are a youth group, although with a nationalistic view, and with what we call the Lure, head of the family. Head of the family talks, that is the end. Where there may be some dissidents, there might be some people who will disagree. But having said that, the real group headed by the leader is RF Fashionati, has maintained his position about what is happening in the country. And whatever anybody says is their own personal view, and they have the right to do it. They have the right to say it. Faction or no faction, there can never be faction. Obafemi Awolowo started this group in 1951, and then Adekunle Ajasi took over. After Adekunle Ajasi took over, then the Senator Abraham Adesoya continued. Afterwards, is there as the leader. When the leader dies in Afenifere, it's like a king. Nobody else can be leader. And I don't want us to be promoting deputy leader or whatever, antagonizing their leader. It started from the days of Baba Akintola. We are still trying to get out of that. Chief Bola and Senator Abraham Adesoya, we are still on that. Chief Omaborowo against Baba Ajasi, we are still on that. We continue. And the press has to educate. It's not done everywhere. It's not done in a civilized society. You can't be promoting, you can't be mentioning dissident groups and be saying that they are faction and be representing their view when the majority, when the structure, when the leaders, the authentic leader has spoken. We have 23 leaders within Yoruba land, within the Afenifere, who are a group of led by leader now, who decide for us. So a single person, no matter how placed, cannot be the voice of the Yoruba nation. It's not right, it's not possible. And that is why we put it on record to please help us. We don't want confusion. Yoruba land is very, very important in Nigeria. We set the pace because we are progressively binded. That is who we are.
I hear you clearly, Mr. Omololu, but I'm also sure you saw that interview by Prince Justice Faloye on a sister channel. He wasn't only speaking for Pade Banjo, he was speaking in the capacity of publicity secretary of the group. And it's hard to tell because this is not just someone speaking for an individual. It would seem that there's another structure entirely different from the one that you speak for. Is that something you acknowledge? Is that a challenge that Afenifere is fixing in the foreseeable future?
Call it a challenge. Call it a challenge. I don't want to watch our dirty linen in the public. I brought injustice into not to Afenifere, into what is called Yoruba conscious group of Yoruba nation in the last few 8 years. You know, myself and Yeko Dumake. I don't know when justice become police secretary of Afenifere. I don't know. I'm the National Guarantee Secretary. Without being a model, I think there's anybody I don't know in Yoruba land who is Afenifere. My office set up the structure across Nigeria, across the world. So tell me who is the chairman? Ask Justice, who is his chairman from Ondo State? Justice is a prince in Akure, but I'm not sure he's a member of Ondo State Afenifere. You cannot be Afenifere without starting from your root. So that is that. Yes, the very brilliant economist is my younger bro, and I am not discussing him personally. But again, anybody can come and talk, you know, and then again, when we in Europe, we have to rise above passion and hate.